The alarm ripped through County General just as Dr. Ryan Hale burst through the ER doors, still in his worn jacket, snow melting off his shoulders. "What's the code?" he shouted. "Room 3, female, mid-30s, blunt trauma." Ryan sprinted inside, then froze. On the gurney lay Victoria Lane, the ruthless CEO who destroyed his career 2 years ago. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Ryan's gloves tightened around the syringe, as if it were the only thing keeping him steady. "Vitals?" he barked. "BP dropping fast, 70/40. Get me epinephrine and a crash cart. Now." He leaned over her pale face, hair matted with blood. The irony hit him like a gut punch. 2 years ago, she'd signed the papers that ended his medical career. Now he was the one fighting to keep her alive. "Push 1 milligram, he ordered. The nurse obeyed, her eyes flicking nervously between them. "Doctor, do you know her?" "Yeah," he said flatly. "Doesn't matter." For 20 breathless minutes, Ryan worked like a man possessed, clamping a ruptured artery, barking orders, ignoring the sting of memory. When the heart monitor finally steadied, he exhaled. She was alive. Later, as the room cleared, he stood by her bedside, watching the faint rise and fall of her chest. He'd saved her. He didn't know why his hands were still shaking. When her eyelids fluttered open, her gaze met his, and her breath caught. "You?" she whispered, voice hoarse. Ryan crossed his arms. "Yeah. Seems the universe wanted us to meet again." Her lips parted, trembling. "After what I did, why would you even—" He cut her off. Because someone had to. He turned toward the window, where his 9-year-old son, Caleb, sat outside the room, swinging his legs on the waiting bench. The kid waved through the glass, holding a cup of cocoa. Ryan gave a faint smile. He thinks heroes don't choose who to save. Victoria blinked, eyes filling with guilt she didn't understand. The man she'd broken had just saved her life. The next morning, sunlight filtered weakly through the blinds of room 312, brushing over the soft beeping of Victoria's heart monitor. Her eyes fluttered open, heavy from sedation, and she found herself staring at the sterile white ceiling, the faint scent of antiseptic mixing with the sting of regret. Her throat burned as she whispered, "Water." A nurse appeared, gentle but cautious. "Here, ma'am." She handed her a small cup and adjusted her pillows. "Where's the doctor who operated on me?" Victoria asked. The nurse hesitated. "Dr. Hale's in the pediatric wing, volunteering. He's been here all night." Victoria froze at the name. She'd heard it before. Too many times, back when his firing had made headlines. Ryan Hale, the doctor who defied corporate protocol to save an uninsured patient. She'd been new at the company then, ambitious, cold, desperate to prove herself capable. His compassion had made her look weak to the board. So she'd chosen her position over his livelihood. And now that same man had chosen her life over his pride. She stared out the window for what felt like hours, her pulse heavy with guilt. The city beyond the glass seemed different. Slower, quieter, like it was waiting for her to face something she'd buried deep. Later that day, when Ryan entered the room with her chart in hand, the silence between them was unbearable. "You're healing fast," he said, his tone clipped, professional. She watched him check her vitals, noting the way his tired eyes avoided hers. "You didn't have to do this," she said softly. He paused, pen hovering above the clipboard. "I didn't have to," he admitted. "But I did. That's the job." Her voice wavered. "No, Ryan. You could have walked away." He finally looked at her. His eyes, gray, steady, exhausted, held no anger, only a quiet, painful strength. You think saving you was about you? It wasn't. It was about my son. He's seen enough people turn away when they could have helped. I won't be one of them. That hit her harder than she expected. She'd built her empire by choosing logic over empathy. He'd built his life on the opposite, and somehow, he still stood taller. When Ryan left, she sat motionless, replaying his words. Guilt, sharp and unrelenting, twisted in her chest. That night, as the hospital settled into a sleepy rhythm, Victoria heard faint laughter from the hallway. She shifted painfully, craning her neck toward the sound. Through the narrow window in her door, she saw him, Ryan, kneeling beside a small boy in a hoodie. Caleb. The kid was drawing something on a napkin, proudly holding it up for his father. Ryan laughed softly, brushing the boy's hair back, his face softening in a way Victoria had never seen before. He wasn't the bitter, broken man she'd imagined all these years. He was kind, grounded, human. The nurse noticed her watching and smiled. That's Dr. Hale's boy. Comes here every evening after school, sweet kid. Always offers to help with the patient's flowers or refill water jugs. Victoria swallowed hard. They live nearby? The nurse hesitated. They rent a small apartment over on 6th. Things have been tough for them since, well, you know. Victoria's heart sank. She did know. She just didn't know how deep the damage had gone. That night, she couldn't sleep. Memories of her boardroom days flashed like broken film reels. The night she'd told security to escort him out. The cold expression she'd worn as his career collapsed. She'd justified it as policy. But now, lying in a hospital bed he'd fought to save her in, policy felt like poison. When morning came, she called her assistant. Carmen, she said, hoarsely, get me everything you can find on Dr. Ryan Hale. I need his records, his clinic address, everything. Her assistant sounded confused. May I ask why? Because I owe someone more than an apology. By afternoon, she was cleared for discharge. Ryan stopped by for one last checkup, his stethoscope resting lightly against her chest. Breathing sounds good, he said. You'll make a full recovery. She studied him, her expression soft but uncertain. You always talk to your patients like that. He glanced at her, brow raised. Only the ones who drive into lampposts at midnight. She managed a small laugh, quiet, broken. You still have that sarcasm. He shrugged. You still have that control complex. For the first time, they both smiled. But beneath the levity, a storm brewed inside her. Ryan, she said after a long pause, what happened after you left St. Mark's? He didn't look at her. Doesn't matter. I built something small but real. Community clinic. No insurance, no walls, no questions. Just people helping people. Without pay? He gave a faint smile. I get by. My son keeps me alive more than any salary could. Her throat tightened again. She wanted to say I'm sorry, but the words felt too small. So instead she whispered, you deserved better. He didn't respond. He just adjusted her IV and said, rest up, Miss Lane. You've got a long road ahead. When he left, she sat there, clutching the sheet. For the first time in years, she didn't feel powerful. She felt human. As she was wheeled out of the hospital later that evening, she glanced toward the lobby. Caleb sat at the corner table, sipping cocoa while coloring. He saw her and waved shyly. She hesitated, then waved back with a trembling smile. She turned to her driver and said, take me to 6th Street. There's somewhere I need to go before home. That night, as snow began to fall again. The sleek black sedan pulled up outside a small, worn-down building with a flickering neon sign. Hale Free Community Clinic. Victoria stepped out slowly, breath fogging in the cold, and looked at the cracked glass door, the warm light spilling through it. Inside, she saw Ryan bandaging an elderly man's hand, while Caleb handed him gauze. They laughed softly, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her chest ached, not from her injuries, but from something deeper. Power had made her cold. His kindness made her feel alive again. She knew then what she had to do. 2 days passed before Victoria returned to the clinic. The city had thawed from its storm, but something inside her still felt frozen, like she was standing at the edge of a life she didn't deserve to enter. She sat in the back seat of her car for nearly 10 minutes, staring through the windshield at the small, faded sign, Hale Community Clinic. She'd brought no entourage this time. No designer suit. No shield. Just jeans, a plain gray coat, and a heart heavy with guilt. When she finally stepped inside, a small bell jingled above the door. The place was small. 2 waiting chairs, 1 old coffee machine, peeling paint. But it felt alive. Children's drawings lined the wall, all signed, "Thank you, Dr. Ryan." The faint hum of soft country music played in the background. It was the opposite of the cold marble offices she'd ruled for years. "Can I help you?" asked a young nurse. Victoria smiled faintly. "I'm here to see Dr. Hale." The nurse's eyes flicked in surprise. "He's with a patient, but you can wait." Victoria sat down, clutching her purse. Every second stretched into a slow ache until the door opened and Ryan stepped out, sleeves rolled up, tired eyes, same calm strength as before. He froze when he saw her. "You again?" She nodded softly. "I needed to talk." "About what?" "About what I destroyed." Ryan leaned against the counter, folding his arms. "Ms. Lane, I'm working. If this is about guilt, you can leave it at the door." "It's not guilt," she said quietly. "It's responsibility." He studied her face for a moment, skeptical, before sighing. "Fine, 5 minutes." She hesitated, then handed him a folder. "It's not an apology letter, it's funding, enough to keep this clinic open for 5 years. Salaries for your staff, supplies, and an expansion budget." Ryan didn't move. "You're joking." "I'm not," she said, voice trembling slightly. "I sold one of my vacation homes. Didn't seem right to own a mansion when this place has leaky ceilings." He exhaled, the air leaving him like a punch to the chest. "Why are you really doing this?" Her eyes glistened. "Because I don't want my success built on the ruin of better people. I fired a man who tried to save a life, and you still saved mine. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that, but maybe I can fix a fraction of it." Ryan stared at her, silent for a long time. His jaw tightened, his gaze steady but unreadable. Then quietly he said, "You don't need to fix me, Victoria. I already rebuilt my life." "I know," she said softly. "That's what makes it harder. You rebuilt what I tried to destroy. I just want to be part of the reason it grows." He looked down at the folder again, the paperwork, the signatures, the seal of her company. It wasn't a corporate stunt. Her hands were shaking too much for it to be PR. Finally, he spoke, voice low. "You really did change." "Maybe not changed," she whispered. "Just finally saw the damage." At that moment, Caleb peeked from the hallway, clutching a worn sketchbook. "Dad, is everything okay?" Ryan turned, his voice softening. "Yeah, buddy, just someone I used to work with." Caleb's bright eyes landed on Victoria. "You're the lady from the hospital," he said shyly. She smiled, gently. That's right. You must be Caleb. Uh-huh, he said proudly, holding up his drawing. I drew my dad fixing people. Someday I want to help too. Victoria's throat tightened. She knelt down so she was eye level with the boy. You already do, she whispered. You help him stay strong. Ryan watched her, something shifting behind his guarded expression. When Caleb ran off, Victoria stood, brushing invisible dust off her coat. You don't have to accept the funding, she said softly, but I'll leave it anyway. No conditions, no headlines, just a chance to balance the scales. He gave a small nod, his voice rough. Thank you. Not for the money, for meaning it. She smiled faintly. Maybe someday I'll earn forgiveness. But until then, I'll start with kindness. Later that evening, the clinic was quiet again. Ryan stood alone in his office, the folder open before him. The contract was legitimate, enough funding to change everything. He thought about tearing it up out of pride. But then he remembered Caleb's words. You always say kindness is a choice, Dad. He picked up his phone and called her. When she answered, her voice sounded tired but lighter. Ryan? Yeah, about that funding, he said. I'll accept it, on one condition. What's that? You come to the opening ceremony next week, see what your money actually does for people. There was a long pause, then a soft laugh. Deal. A week later, the clinic was packed. New paint, new equipment, volunteers bustling everywhere. The banner read, Hale Community Health Center, a place where compassion heals. Ryan stood near the podium, holding Caleb's hand. When Victoria arrived, the crowd turned. She looked nothing like the towering CEO on magazine covers. She looked human. When it was time for speeches, Ryan stepped up. 2 years ago, I lost everything I thought mattered, he began. But what I gained was worth more. Purpose, humility, and the chance to raise my son seeing that goodness still exists. And today, that goodness came full circle. He turned slightly toward her. We all fall short sometimes. What matters is what we do afterward. Victoria's eyes shimmered as the room broke into soft applause. She didn't deserve his grace, but somehow, he gave it freely. After the event, she approached him quietly. You gave me something I couldn't buy, Ryan. He tilted his head. What's that? A reason to believe people can start over. Ryan smiled faintly. We all can. The trick is not to wait until it's too late. As she left, Caleb tugged at his sleeve. Dad, she's nice now. Ryan chuckled. Yeah, kid. Sometimes people just need a chance to remember who they used to be. Outside, snow began to fall again. But this time, it didn't feel cold. For Victoria, it felt like absolution. For Ryan, it felt like peace. And for Caleb, watching them both under that quiet snowfall, it looked exactly like what his dad always promised. That kindness, even after pain, could still heal everything.